He's up.
Okay, keep speaking.
Testing.
Yeah, it's real far back in the mix. That's the problem today, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to try calling Matt once the show starts and see if I could
Yeah.
work something out.
Yeah, because for me, it's way back.
And Devin said you may have to try increasing your...
I can't increase my volume.
Okay,
That's the
let me call
problem.
Matt, 'cause
I can't do any of
This is the
that.
first time we're using Thailand 1 today, so
Okay.
let me call him.
Okay, thank you so well. Okay, let's get up on the air because we're going to be on in like 2 minutes, not even a minute and a half. Okay.
We got 35 seconds
Yeah.
or 40 now.
Okay, so we're coming at 6:05.
Yeah.
Okay, always let me know. Is it 6:06? Okay. All right. Hey, Dave. Hey, Andre. How you doing? It's good to be with you all today. How do I sound, Pastor? Do I sound? Can you hear me?
Yes, you're perfect.
Okay, great. That's wonderful. Okay, and enjoyed speaking with you last night.
Yes,
Thank you.
ma'am.
Thank you.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It's Tuesday, September 14th, 2021. I'm Santita Jackson, coming to you from WCPT, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. I want to hear your voices today. I want to hear your voices. 773-763-9778, 763 WCPT. If you want to text me at that number, GWC Injury Lawyers gives you the opportunity to do that. But I want to hear your voices today. I want to dedicate the show to a beautiful flight attendant from Southwest Airlines who was riding with a young man who is youth director at Rainbow Push. And she said she listens to the show every day. Hey, Vivian, how you doing? You moved me. And he's going to send me some information because I just want to reach out to you and thank you for your support. That is so sweet. But she saw his Rainbow Push pen and said, I listen to the Santita Jackson Show every day. And I'm so touched. And thank you all for your support. Today, we got to talk about with Malcolm Nance. That's right. The September 18th marches. March that's going to be held, that rally in Washington. What will that be like? They're already erecting a barrier around the Capitol. Will it be a replay of January 6th? Yes or no? What is the movement that is driving this? We'll be talking with Malcolm Nance and Dwight McKee about it in separate segments. But I want to know what you're thinking. I want to talk with Malcolm Nance. He's the intelligence expert. But Dwight McKee, social scientist that he is, brilliant and insightful, he foresaw this. So I want to know what you think, where you think this is going and what's driving this. And the California is sprinkled in that. Will Gavin Newsom, the governor who won his seat by almost 62%, but more than 1.5 million voters said he needed to be recalled. That's why you're having this election now. Will it work? It turns out that the poll numbers are now trending in his direction, but will that be enough? California is one of those interesting states, very liberal, very conservative at the same time. And of course, we're going to be talking with Dr. Deborah Holden about COVID boosters. A lot of people are pushing back on it. Indeed, the FDA officials who just resigned because they pushed back against the White House. The White House's assertion that we need boosters. It's saying, no, not so fast. So please like and share over here on Facebook. Like and share. It's crackling this morning. Okay, I need you to bring it down just a bit because I'm a little hot for people close. May he's doing a great job in the studio at WCPT. So bring it down because they say I am crackling this morning. Okay, bring it down for them. All right, let's get to some of these headlines. Let's go to some of these headlines. Chicago is going to be a warm day, 85 degrees, partly cloudy. And in Minneapolis, St. Paul, 72 degrees, partly cloudy. On Wall Street yesterday, certainly the Dow closed up 261 points. The NASDAQ closed down 9 and the S&P 500 closed up 10 in Major League Baseball. The White Sox will be playing the Angels. The Twins will be facing off against Cleveland, and the Cubs will be playing the Phillies. Last night, it was a nail-biter, an extremely exciting game. I know Pastor Todd Urey is excited this morning, or maybe not. It was an exciting game, but the Ravens did lose. The Raiders 33, the Ravens 27. Everybody. President Biden wants 70% of the world to get vaccinated. It's not even close, according to this Washington Post report. Roughly 1/3 of the people globally are fully vaxxed, according to Our World in Data. COVAX, the World Health Organization's campaign to distribute vaccines to the world, said that last week only 20% of people in low and lower middle class countries have received a first dose of the vaccine, compared to 80% in high and upper middle income countries. What do you think about that as we are looking at the booster? Do you think that that's the right thing? I want you to call me at 773-763 WCPT 773-763-9278. The good news is that India's COVID wave is receding, everybody. And now they're facing growing pressure to lift its ban to export coronavirus vaccines. Hospitalizations are up in Washington as patients are seeking treatment and as they are facing delayed care. I told you the fight now is not only for vaccines, but for therapeutics. If you get ill, if you catch COVID-19, can you get the therapeutics? That is the question, everybody. Hey, Carolyn. Hey, Joyce. Hey, Dave. Hey, Shirley from beautiful Philadelphia. Hey, Carol, let me know how the sound is now. Linda and Dave and Andre sending you much love this morning, everybody. Now with the pandemic, if you go to Washington, if you go to New York City, there are new pandemic rules for restaurants and city workers and schools. They're in effect, and they are also having people who are going into these businesses who are enforcing these rules. Wow. What is that feeling like? Secretary of State Anthony Blinken appeared before the House Foreign Affairs Committee yesterday, becoming the first Biden administration official to publicly account to Congress for the chaotic, violent U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan that ended last month. Though the hearing brought few answers, it did set up what will likely become an ugly battle between Biden officials defending the hurried exit and Republican lawmakers heavily criticizing it. In Congress, Democrats plan to return to Capitol Hill this month with a crushing set of deadlines. First up, the $3.5 trillion safety net bill, yet to be finalized by the Senate. So we'll see how that goes, everybody. First thing, as we look at this California recall later on, John Nichols will be with us today. Will they win? Well, not only is the California recall on President Biden's mind and Vice President Harris, who was the first African-American to hold statewide office in the state of California, they're looking at the wildfires. They're looking at the tropical storm Nicholas, which is about to deluge Texas and Louisiana. They just had, they are expecting 20 inches, 12 inches of rain throughout the Gulf. Wow, can they handle it, everybody? Well, President Biden said that the huge blazes and these extreme swings in weather are due to climate change, and we must do something about it. He's campaigning on that, too. We've got Pastor Stephen Thurston, the teaching pastor of the House of Hope, Church of Pastor James Meeks and First Lady Jamel Meeks, sending them much love. Give them and their family my love today, and your family. You know I love your parents. I know. I love Pastor Stephen Thurston and the First Lady. We love you. We love you. We love you. What is on your mind today? Give us some good news, something that can help us to get through the day.
Yes, ma'am. Well, listen, a lot of us find ourselves stretched too thin, if we're honest. We feel simultaneously overworked and underutilized. If we're honest, we're often busy but not productive. And we can feel like our time is constantly being hijacked by other people's agendas. I mean, it's like our heads are on the swivel, Santita, as you daily read these top headlines. It's like, where do I focus my attention? And we often try to do so much and cover so much ground. And I want to encourage us today to begin to engage what I call the invisible art. The invisible art. Let me tell you what I mean by that. each year, the highlight of the Academy Awards is the prize for Best Picture. For weeks leading up to that award ceremony, media speculates on the presumed winner, and that evening, movie fans stay up well past their bedtimes to see it awarded. But on that same evening, there's an equally important award that's granted, but rarely, if ever, does it receive the fanfare that it truly deserves. A few individuals probably even know that there's even an award presented for this category, and that category is Best Film Editing. What many people fail to recognize is that these two awards are highly correlated. If you look back from a historical lens, since 1981, not a single film has won Best Picture without at least being nominated for Best Film Editing. In fact, about 2/3 of the cases, the movie nominated for film editing has gone on to win the Best Picture. What we have to realize from this is that film editing, sometimes labeled as the invisible art, involves the strict elimination of the trivial, the unimportant, or the irrelevant. A good film editor makes it super hard not to see what's important because they've eliminated everything but the elements that are absolutely necessary and need to be there. Now, to achieve all of that you desire, that I desire, that we desire in life, Santita, it's important that we become the best film editors of the screenplay entitled Your Life. Now, note that an editor is not merely somebody who says no to things, nor does an editor simply eliminate. In fact, in many ways, an editor actually adds, because a good editor is someone who uses deliberate subtraction to add emphasis and focus to their life. It's disciplined editing that lends the most meaningful relationships and activities the space that they need in our lives to blossom. And anything distracting, anything unnecessary, or anything awkward won't be able to stay when disciplined editing is at play in our lives. So let me give us quickly 4 simple principles inherent in the editing process that we can begin applying to our life today to eliminate that which seeks to distract us from our desired goals. Number 1, we've got to cut out options. When we have fewer options, it makes it easier to make decisions. And so we've got to summon the discipline to get rid of options or opportunities that might be good, yet still they're getting in the way. Number 2, we've got to condense. A good editor is ruthless in the pursuit of making everything count for more or doing more with less. It's not about doing more at one time, but rather having less waste. Number 3, we've got to correct. Editors don't just cut and condense, but they also make things right. And an editor must have a clear sense of the overarching purpose for this to happen. And so in life, we're able to make course corrections by returning constantly back to what our core purpose is. And when we regularly compare our activities and our behaviors to our real intent, we get to see what needs to leave and what needs to stay. Because if things are off, if things are not aligned, we simply need to edit them. 4th and finally, we got to edit less. The best editors never feel the need to just change things for the sake of changing things, because sometimes leaving things as is the best thing that you can do. So you got to know when to show restraint, because doing less is also a powerful strategy in all aspects of life. Editing, it isn't a task reserved for when things become overwhelming. Editing out time and activities continuously allows us to make more deliberate adjustments. Cutting, condensing, and correcting, they have to become a natural part of our daily routine. And editing should become something that's a natural cadence in our lives if we're going to reach a place of destiny and success that's labeled on our lives by God's hand.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Otherwise, you just have a whole lot of pieces of film on the floor. You have to have someone who pulls it all together. Amen to that. Thank you, Pastor Stephen Thurston. Everybody, go get his book, Mirror Moments. You'll get more of this, more of this. How can we get your book, Mirror Moments?
Head over to my website, Stephen with the PH, StephenJThurston.com, and you can get all the content right there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Love you so much. Sending you much, 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 much love. Brilliant man of God. And one of my health gurus. I love it. I love it. Everybody, let's talk with Dr. Deb, epidemiologist, brilliant epidemiologist, and the Associate Dean of Public Health at Michigan State University. Indeed, they brought her from Johns Hopkins to help to build that school. That's just how brilliant this woman is. COVID boosters. You had two FDA officials who resigned in protest. They said, the White House is pushing these boosters. It's too fast. And now they're talking about it a little bit. They're not being unkind, but they're saying that these COVID boosters are not appropriate. And then you're finding that most poor people, only 20% of low and just low income and poor nations have had the first shot. 80% of us in wealthy nations. So what are the boosters? Why do some people say they need them? Some people are sneaking and getting them. Talk to us, Dr. Deb.
And good morning. So this is a hot topic because one, people haven't distinguished. We talked about this a while back between a third shot and a booster. I don't like the languaging. I want to be really clear. It's all the same thing. I've heard people say things like, "I'm gonna just wait for the booster." Well, if you're getting a booster, the booster is to boost something. It's to boost your immunity from the previous shots that you got. So there's no such thing as getting protection by just getting a booster. A booster, a third shot is the same thing. The other thing that I think is really important to note is that what you're getting is the exact same thing that you would have already gotten. There's only one Pfizer vaccine. There's not the one, Pfizer vaccine that's your first dose, a different one that's your second dose, and a different one that's a booster. It's all the same thing in the vial. It's all the same thing in the syringe that you'd be getting injected into your arm. So I want to make sure that people are really clear about that. There's nothing special or some different formulation or anything like that for this third shot or a booster shot. So now the issue of should people get boosters? We are seeing, in my opinion, more mishandling, fumbling, inconsistent information, agencies that aren't even consistent with the messaging. The real question is, who's the real authority here? Who can say whether or not a booster is needed and for who? The regulatory authority, the one that can regulate it and say whether or not it would be under an emergency use authorization or under full approval, would be the FDA. The FDA, because this is a medication, ultimately would be the agency who would say whether or not a booster is needed and for whom and when. They haven't done that yet. They've made these recommendations. Then you've got the CDC who's making recommendations. And we all know the CDC has been a little all over the map during COVID. They blamed it previously on the White House administration, but they've been just as inconsistent and all over the place when the administration changed. So I think they just have to own, the way that they've messaged things, to just up one day and say, hey, if you're vaccinated, you don't need the mask anymore. Some of the things that they've done have really left people scratching their heads. So there's no shit around who should get a booster. The scientists haven't reached agreement on it yet. The only thing that we know is that if you look for COVID antibodies and people who have not contracted COVID but been vaccinated, we're starting to see that those antibodies wane.
Well, hold on one moment.
Yeah.
Hold on, because I think we need to be clear on who should have the final word on the boosters. Is it the CDC? Is it the World Health Organization, which is a private organization? It's not a governmental institution. Is it the CDC? Is it the World Health Organization? Is it the FDA? Is it the White House? Because if you just listen to the media, Dr. Deb, they're all given equal weight. And that's not true.
I'll tell you this. Yeah. I'm not taking, if we're talking about a medication that you're putting in your body, there's only one agency in the U.S. authorized to say whether or not that medication is safe for use and for whom and in what dosage and for what purposes, and that is the FDA. The White House has zero authority with which to make medical recommendations for the general population. It is the FDA. The FDA, and the reason that I say that, and it's not even the WHO, the reason that I say that is because we have a process in place. There's supposed to be data that looks at all of the issues, waning immunity, the impact of boosters, the impact of boosters for different groups. And then all of that data gets reviewed at the FDA by what's called a Data Safety and Monitoring Board. And that is a group of highly credible scientists. The president of Meharry is on the FDA Data Safety and Monitoring Board for COVID vaccines.
And that's the historically black medical school. Meharry, Howard,
Exactly.
Morehouse is the newest among them. Okay.
Yep. And so, Morehouse, Meharry, Howard, and Drew.
And Drew is new, but Drew is affiliated with UCLA, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of, I do ownership with my HBCUs.
As you should. So it's the FDA. I get it. And it's sort of like if you needed medical advice, are you going to ask the president or are you going to ask a medical doctor?
Well, I don't know now. That's why we have you here.
You shouldn't be giving medical advice.
But that's why we have you here. These FDA officials resigned. And that was the rumor last week, that they resigned because they said you shouldn't be calling for boosters. Everybody doesn't need a booster. Wait. So, I mean, where do we go here?
Because, I appreciate that. That should say something to people.
Mm.
So the FDA is the authority. The FDA is the authority and should be providing the formal guidance on who should be getting boosters and when. Not the WHO. They have very different standards. They're not looking at the same data that we have. They're looking globally. Remember, there's hundreds of COVID vaccines. The ones that we have here are not the ones that are being used in other countries.
Wait a minute, there are hundreds?
Well, yeah, people have developed so many different COVID vaccines, it's not even funny. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Do you know
vaccine on the market here is very different from what it will take to get a vaccine in the arms of people in other countries.
Well, which one's working best? Has anyone looked at that?
I don't trust everybody's process.
I don't either, but I mean, is anyone working any better than any other?
That's a hard question to answer.
Okay.
I wouldn't feel comfortable answering that, to be honest, because, without having credibility of the data, and being able to trust it, the only thing you can really base it on is what you're seeing in their population. And then even that is biased, right? People report what they want to report, and they underreport and overreport, and sometimes not even on purpose. We know all globally that COVID cases are underreported. We know this.
And we know that they're not reporting breakthrough viruses. The CDC is not fielding that information the way they should here. I've got 1 minute, literally. Actually, I have about 30 seconds. Vicki Wells said, FDA, got it. Thank you, Dr. Deb. Because, see, this is stuff that we didn't know. When you hear World Health Organization, CDC, FDA, White House, you think that they're all the same, and they're not. 30 seconds belong to you.
Well, so my recommendation to people is don't self-medicate. Don't. Just be patient. The fact that some high-ranking people resign, which is what I feel like, I'm looking for that level of boldness.
Okay.
I'm looking for scientists to say, I got my hands in the data. I have the facts. I have the knowledge. And I'm not going to be bullied by a president, by a CDC director, by a world leader. I'm going to stand on what I know, and that I will be unmovable on. And if that means I don't have a job, fine, but I still have my integrity. That should say something to people. That should say something. So,
amen.
Don't medicate. Don't run off and get a booster. If your doctor doesn't tell you to do it, I wouldn't do it. And let's just hold tight.
25 seconds.
What recommendations look like. Because the difference is the FDA has been the agency that has been the most consistent throughout this whole thing. They have been the most consistent.
Yes.
Because they're just data-driven. They're data-driven.
Okay.
And they have processes in place. So let's just everybody hold tight.
Dr. Deborah Furr-Holden, epidemiologist, she said, everybody hold tight. Associate Dean of Public Health at Michigan State University, hold tight. We got Malcolm Nance talking about the September 18th rally in D.C. Will it be January 6th all over again? An ex-FBI official says Yeah, just might. Where is this coming from? It was the Santita Jackson Show. Call me at 773-763-9278. Back in just a minute. Dr. Deb?
Yes, ma'am.
No, I'm very serious because you hit health policy and listening to the media, we're hearing the White House weigh in, we're hearing the World Health Organization. We don't even really know who they are aside from the second biggest funder is Bill Gates. Okay. The first biggest funder was the United States. So it's private. It's the Federal Reserve. It's a private entity. Then you've got the CDC. Then you've got the FDA. The FDA has been lost in all of this. And so I want to thank you because now you've given me clarity and everybody else. D. Ray said they think Dr. Deb don't know nothing. Okay. I'm not mad at you. And let me see. Don't take it if it's not needed. If it's not needed. Yeah. She said hold tight.
Well, it's an abuse of power for the White House to do this. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
These are our own entities. These are our own agencies. They are the ones who have the authority to make these recommendations. So for the president to go against something or the White House to go against something that our own offices, that our own authorities have said, just we don't have enough data yet. It's crazy.
You know what? I'll call you a little bit later. I've got a lot. I'm getting a lot of feedback about static.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna have to get a new mic here. They're not hearing it on the radio. These are my Facebook people, and the radio feed is clean. But I'm gonna have to. If you would tell Matt, I'm getting a lot of complaints about the mic. I will reach out to him. I'm going to look for one myself.
Okay. I talked to Matt, and he's talking to Jim right now. So hopefully we can work something out by the end of the show.
Yeah, well, the mic itself, I'm having lots and lots of trouble with it. I'm getting a lot of complaints about it, and I have been for a few days. So I'm gonna go look for one. Okay, if you can. Well, now it's louder. You know, Jim can work all of this remotely. Now it's much louder, which is great.
Even though they are far from free from market risk.
Is that better?
Oh, I mean, it was much better.
Okay, because the thing is, when I have it like this, I like your voice is like rivaling with its voice, and like I can't hear you as well on my end.
Film Festival,
okay.
A production of Chicago filmmakers, presented by AARP.
Can you keep talking?
Oh, sure. Hello. Hi. How's everybody? Everybody waiting. You said it's bad. Okay, we're going to work on that. And I'm going to get my own mic, everybody. That's what I'm going to do. Just so that I can try and do something different here.
The Parents' Choice Award-winning online learning program that's actually changing the lives of early learners everywhere.
ABC Mouse is like a little one-on-one teacher. It has helped her so much.
You always hear the breaking Jamaica funk? Okay. Answers there?
Yeah.
Okay. Malcolm, how are you?
Radio, sponsored by Age of Learning.
Did you know that more than
Malcolm Nance
poisonings happen at home? Look,
He's connected. I'm not sure why he's not talking.
Oh, well, he might not hear me. I don't know, but let's work on it, okay? Malcolm Nance?
away from children, properly labeling and securing medicines and supplements, and installing
Malcolm?
monoxide detectors near bedrooms and furnaces.
Malcolm Nance?
Hold on. I'm gonna see if I can get him back once we get going.
Okay. Well, let's see if we can find out now because I don't want to.
We're going on right now.
You are listening to WCPT 820.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
You welcome to Santita Jackson Show. It's Tuesday, September 14th, 2021. I'm Santita Jackson, coming to you from the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, WCPT and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. And my Facebook brothers and sisters, that's right, the Santita Jackson Morning Stars. That's right. On the Santita Jackson and Friends page. Hey, Gene, the dancing machine, my buddy from We Were in Roberta Flack's band together. Brilliant musician he is. It's wonderful to be with everybody today. I want to hear your thoughts about the September 18th rally in Washington, D.C. They're already setting up a barrier around the Capitol. Will that be enough? Where is all of this coming from? And should we take this seriously? Did we take it seriously? Leading up to January 6th, there's a rally planned in support of the January 6th rioters, according to this news report. A right-wing rally, that's how it's being described, as raising concerns about potential violence on Capitol Hill. Hundreds of people are expected to protest outside of the Capitol on September 18th in support of the January 6th rioters. Now, there's an ex-FBI official, former deputy director, Andrew McCabe, who said that law enforcement needs to take this upcoming rally, quote, very seriously. What do you think all of this is about? Where is this coming from? I'm talking with Malcolm Nance, brilliant author, pundit, but he's a veteran, everybody. He does intelligence. That is his field of expertise. Terrorism, insurgency, torture, all of that. This is what he knows. You've got to get his latest book, The Plot to Betray America. You've got to get that. But he has a whole series of books, The Plot to Hack America, and on and on and on. No one is more able, no one is more brilliant, no one understands this space better than Malcolm Nance. So, Malcolm Nance, welcome back to the show.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
It's always wonderful to hear your voice. Okay. I thought we were done January 6th, but clearly not. Or what is scheduled to happen on September 18th?
Well, what's happened is that some right-wing extremist organizers have planned a rally that they call Justice for January 6th. And interestingly enough, over the last 9 months, instead of being shamed, the right wing, with the help of Donald Trump and his encouragement, and the Republican Party, have all decided that January 6th was not a serious incident. There was no threat to democracy, that no Trump supporters were there attacking the building, despite the fact that the FBI has made over 600 arrests, and that many of the people who were arrested are not actually violent criminals who have been kept in custody awaiting trial after beating police officers. They have now been designated as political prisoners.
Who designated them as political prisoners?
Well, that's what I was going to say. The first one to designate them as political prisoners was Russian President Vladimir Putin, who actually directed his foreign ministry to look into the conditions of the political prisoners who were arrested by the evil Joe Biden, despite the fact that hundreds of them were arrested before Biden was president. So this has turned into this massive political undertaking, where now the denial strategy the Republicans developed, soon after the January 6th riots and attack on the Capitol, has now become the heart of their platform. And Donald Trump had an election stolen from them, which is known as the Big Lie, and they have a Big Lie 2.0, that they didn't attack the Capitol, and it was Antifa, and Black Lives Matter, and that they're being scapegoated by Joe Biden's presidency. And now they're political prisoners, and they want the people who were arrested released. So that's what this protest is supposed to be about.
We're talking with Malcolm Nance, intelligence expert, American author, naval veteran. His upcoming rally on September 18th. Should we take it seriously? The former deputy director of the FBI says that we should, but are we taking it seriously? I mean, beyond erecting the barrier around the Capitol, help me to understand where is all of this coming from? Where is this coming from? It just seems that I'm wondering how seriously we take this, because we've not labeled any of these persons domestic terrorists, right? We've not done that. We've had hundreds of arrests, but you don't know who's been arrested. Everybody's been protected, quite frankly. They've been able to kind of meld back into the American population. And many of them were police officers, law enforcement, fire department employees, firemen and women. I mean, come on.
Well, the 600 people who were arrested, they are all documented. It's public who was arrested. The police officers, for the most part, who were arrested that were participating in them, most of them were fired from their jobs. Members of the armed forces were brought in, that we had active duty members of the armed forces are having the military and civilian judicial system take care of them. But we know who they are. It's the most violent of them that are being held in Washington, D.C. Without bond, who couldn't make bond. The problem that we're having right now is there appears to be this dichotomy in the Justice Department where some of the people who just entered the Capitol, who were milling about, who didn't, they couldn't document, had taken part in severe violence, were given misdemeanor charges and allowed to plead guilty and walk out. Good case in point is the millionaire real estate heiress who had chartered a private jet to fly her and her friends up to the Capitol and then got into the Capitol. She was given a misdemeanor. And so she has no real, she could have that record expunged. So a lot of the low-level people are being, given these options to plead guilty for essentially nothing. And of course, the people who carried out real violence, it takes a long time to bring these people to trial. Almost none of them, Santita, almost none of them are pleading guilty to what they have on videotape, right? I mean, violent acts, beating policemen, dragging policemen into the crowd, and even more interestingly is that the two protesters who were trying to kill Officer Mike Bonone and two others who were implicated in the beating of the policeman who died. No one has been charged with attempted murder or murder yet. So these trials are going to go on for some time. That's allowed the political right to now rally around them, led by Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and a whole myriad of other extremists who, in fact, the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th believes many of them may, in fact, be involved or may have been involved in the organization of these protests. We know, for example, Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, actually tweeted out Nancy Pelosi's location in the House of Representatives while the rioters were breaking in. The question is, was she just an idiot, or was it actually criminal mischief? So
what do you
all
think?
Of these need to be addressed.
Well, see, what do you think? Because even those factoids, right? They're not widely discussed by the mainstream media. That's what I mean when I say that these persons, more than 600 who've been arrested, that even those who were quietly fired from their jobs, they've been protected. We don't know their names. We know Sirhan. We know Lee Harvey Oswald. We know people who commit crimes. We know their names. We know their stories. All of these people, they have been protected. And I want to know why. How can you still be in Congress where the Speaker of the House is putting her life in danger? How can you still have a job?
Well, there has to be investigation. Everyone's innocent until presumed innocent until proven guilty. But this is where it's not Lauren Boebert you want to pressure. She's one of those impossible to break hardcore Trump loyalists. Look, this was a woman who got her GED while running for Congress, right?
Oh.
So she's not the smartest.
Well, she's not. Okay, I'll say she's. That's right.
She has an entire machine
Mm-hmm.
of the Republican Party now guiding her. Where you want to find evidence is with her staffers. You want to find the staffer who said, oh, that was a good idea, or the staffer who may have heard her communicating with previous people, because they're not protected, okay? These people that she bought from Colorado, or the interns, these are the people who will go to jail for lying to the FBI, whereas she might lie to the FBI, and I'm not saying that she did, but let's say, for the sake of argument, that she might try to cover her tracks. She has the entire party apparatus of the Republican Party backing her up. She's the standard bearer now. Her and Marjorie Taylor Greene, who are 9/11 truthers, right, and QAnon followers, now are the spear tip of the Republican Party. So that includes all the billionaires that back up the Republicans, Donald Trump himself, and the angry Republican mob on the street. And that's who everyone's really afraid of up there, right? The people who could show up with weapons, or the people who could show up at your house with weapons after you've done something to displease them. So Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and all the rest, who might be investigated by the Select Committee, if any evidence is found, then action can be taken on a civil or criminal level.
We're talking with the author of The Plot to Destroy America, Malcolm Nance, American author, veteran, intelligence expert on terrorism, insurgency, torture, all of it. Indeed, you said, and you just made me giggle, I just loved it. You said, look, I'm a spook. Hey, I can find out these things. What is the intelligence community having anything about it's not just a group of people. I mean, President Trump got like 74, 75 million votes. It's I think it's a little deeper than that. What are we looking at, Malcolm Nance? I just want to tell you for a minute. Is there a profile?
Like I said, I have another book coming out here, hopefully by the time January 6th anniversary rolls around, which is on all of the groups and how what we called a few years ago the alt-right, right? The alternative right, has moved from a huge swath of disparate organizations and militias into, by the time of the 2020 election, essentially the unofficial street action group or intimidation group of the Trump campaign. And once that election was lost by Donald Trump, they, went back underground, of course. But this summer, certainly with Donald Trump's urgings and the fact that they are very frustrated that they don't have power, these groups are all coming back up to the surface. The Proud Boys, for a short while went away from beating people on the streets to carrying rifles. And after the January 6th insurrection, they're back to doing street action, which is, in their parlance, beating liberals physically on the ground. So they go to riots and they attack people. They protect what they call protection, anti-vaccine and anti-mask protests. The Boogaloo Boys and other armed militias are starting to show back up. And the real threat here, Santita, is that September 18th, where I'm going to be in D.C., goes out with a fizzle in Washington, D.C., but they start taking actions around its state houses and start lowering their sights to do what they're doing with these school boards, with the crazy QAnon people. They start going locally and destroying all of the infrastructure and the confidence in local government, or seizing control of local government. And that's why any of your listeners who are on school boards or have the opportunity to join a school board who aren't crazy QAnon people need to go to these board meetings and back your electors, because by direction of Donald Trump's followers and General Michael Flynn, these crazy people are seizing control of school boards so that they can teach the election was stolen, so that they can make children believe that liberals are murdering pedophiles who drink the blood of children. That is who is attending school board meetings now.
But let me ask you this.
It's just a quick jump
Sure.
to state houses with guns, right?
Sure. I mean, that's what we're seeing in Michigan. But I'm wondering if I'm hoping it's not an oversimplification. I mean, I'm hearing you, but I listen to people from all, from all walks of life. And we do have a pedophile problem, not just on the ground, but in the corridors of power. We do. Um, and Renee made the point that we have spent more time following the R. Kelly trial than we have this. I'm not saying that that trial is not important, but we are not looking at a lot of things that are really off here, Malcolm Nance. A lot of things.
Right, but let me...
but even...
make this point.
Okay, please.
Yeah. It's important your listeners understand this. Yes, there are people out there who abuse their position in power and may involve themselves with, underage sex. But what's being alleged in the Republican Party is that it is every person who is liberal, every person who is progressive, every person who is a minority in the Democratic Party, all of the people in the Congress and the leadership, including Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and Hillary Clinton, they are alleging every one of them is a pedophile who kidnaps children to murder them, rape them, and drink their blood. So now, that is what the QAnon Republican Party is moving their base with against the average Joe Democrat who just wants, family leave and increased child care. So I try to make a very big distinction between the crazy and which they are literally electing Donald Trump with, and the average run-of-the-mill nuts out there.
Well, let me ask you this, because I don't do a lot of name calling here, but I hear you. But the thing is, when I look at Donald Trump, to me, was able to seize upon a lot of mistrust and a lot of things that are really off out here, and everybody knows it because we got a lot of children who are disappearing and we don't even know where they are. Now, I mean, there's a lot that's real off, and people toggle between Trump and Bernie. People want change, period. And you can put a lot of stuff out here, right? You put a lot of stuff out here. Not you, but a lot of stuff is floating out here on the right and the left and all the way around. My question is, well, no, really, because I'm trying to engage you because I'm trying to find out what is going on here, because to me there's something.
You're giving us facts
that
are real, okay? These things are real. Yeah, children disappear, kids run away, people are taken. But what we have is this, there has been a hijacking of normal things that occur in a population of 320 million people that are being turned into a grand conspiracy, which the right is using in claiming that they should genocide all liberals because they're kidnapping, they say 18,000 children are kidnapped or disappeared a year, Well, that's a possibility that may be true. We don't know if those statistics are exact, but they're saying, and all liberal progressives are doing this, and we must kill them all. That is where the big difference is going on here. So when I see people leaning in towards, well, what about R. Kelly? What about, Jeffrey Epstein? Yeah, that stuff is reality. But there are people out there nefariously on the hard right in the QAnon world that are saying that this is a political plot by people like you and me, and I was a conservative most of my life, right? Colin Powell type conservative, that we should all be taken out and strung up on a day called the Day of the Rope. And that's what these protests, January 6th, they believed January 6th was a day called the Storm, and that they were coming to kill everyone in the House of Representatives who was progressive, liberal, or Democrat.
So where do you see the storm going?
Which direction we lean.
Where will the storm go after January 6th, on September 18th? Where are we heading with all of this? I've got about 4 minutes left.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, there are many people out there, and I really hate conspiracy theories. I just absolutely detest them. But these people are making their conspiracy theories come true. They are arming themselves. I mean, I've mentioned this on your show a couple of times. A year ago, the price of AR-15 ammunition, each bullet, was about 21 cents per bullet. Mm-hmm. Today, it's $1.25 per bullet, if you can get them. These people are arming themselves, and when I say these people, I'm talking the collective right wing that thinks that the election was stolen, that, the QAnon people who think that pedophiles are eating their children and they have to take over the school boards to stop, Hillary Clinton from drinking the blood of babies. These crazy people who are out there have now taken over the mainstream Republican Party. How did it happen? Mm-hmm. Because the loudest voices in support of Donald Trump became the street-level leaders. And there were no crazier, set of loud voices than the QAnon people. And let me tell you, it's just crazy. Anyone who believes in any of that is a nut. I'm not going to say that they're misguided. No, they're nuts. So we have to understand, nutty people can carry out acts of mass murder. Timothy McVeigh, for example, killed 168 people, including 19 babies, and he knew he was going to do it and said, well, that's just the collateral damage that I caused, and, America deserved it. We have a lot of people out there who have picked up this mantle. And what I'm saying to your listeners is, first, weed out the crazy, because the crazy is now steering a major political party in the United States. And Donald Trump's get in your face, insult you, do violence against you type of attitude, that is now the fundamental belief of Republicans. All right? The ones who don't do that are no longer considered Republicans. They're out of the party. So common decency, what we used to call political correctness, being nice to people, common decency, they want to seize power, and they made it clear. So what's coming here in the future, if they don't get their way, or if we lose the 2022 election, mm-hmm. and the Republicans take control of the House of Representatives, you could be on your way to seeing the early, indications towards a civil war.
Well, I think we're already in it. But, I have to tell you, I don't think this started with Trump. I remember Lee Atwater a little more than a generation ago. Yeah. And I remember Jesse Helms and what he did in North Carolina. Well, yeah, but I'm just saying he helped to bend the arc of history because he absolutely changed American politics. And it became ugly and nasty. It's just gotten uglier. And it didn't have a gentleman and gentlewoman's code until that point. Did. Even though you've always had racial dog whistles and all of that, it's just gotten uglier. Let me just say something before you go. I'm seeing gentleman John Smith. I hear you. You can have your opinions and you can certainly disagree with me and say whatever you say, and I got it. But the name calling is not acceptable. Iggy Niggy, I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to use the N word. Either apologize or I invite you to leave. I'm not going to have anyone insulted on this chat thread. What we do on this show is I try to have elevated discussions. That's why I don't do name calling. I don't do that. I know what public life costs you. I know armed security in my home and outside of it. I never knew a day in which I thought my father would be alive. Never thought he'd be because I know what this talking does. A lot of people talk junk, but they have no skin in the game. So what I will not allow here is for people to be disrespected. It's for people to be diminished and belittled. You can disagree all day long. That's okay. The airwaves are free. I'm just a steward of it. But disrespecting people, belittling people, calling them out of their names, I will not have that here. And if that's your style, then I invite you to go elsewhere. But you won't be able to do it here. Everybody, get A Plot to Betray America by Malcolm Nance. We cannot wait to get this memoir that's coming out in a few months. Cannot wait. this brilliant, brilliant intelligence expert. Love you. Yes, we have Dwight McKee talking about all of this and more, and the California recall on the Santita Jackson Show on the other side of the break. Back in just a minute. Okay. Bless your heart.
Battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by.
Oh, my goodness. John, you're so ridiculous. Bless your heart. But everyone, let's keep on going. Oh, John, bless your heart. Bless your heart.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
So we have two callers. We have Anita from North Carolina. She wants to talk about just how the Republicans kind of need more people like Sarah Palin.
Okay.
And then we also have Tom. Tom, I think he'll be fine, but he's kind of disagreeing with Malcolm Nance's stance. He kind of felt like Malcolm was kind of gaslighting the Republicans.
Oh, that's fine. But bring them on.
Yeah, no, for sure. I have them on hold right now.
Okay. Well, no. I want to bring them up during the break. The hold. Gotcha. And please get.
They're just waiting for you right now. I just wanted to let you know, though.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
In your local grocery store.
Dell Technologies Labor Day event can save your business up to 45% on select PCs built for business with Windows 10 Pro. Rise to the challenge. Call 877-ASK-DELL.
Oh, bless your heart. You know, I don't, Gene, I don't give trolls attention. I don't. I mean, because I know where they come from. And quite frankly, in this area called cyberspace, you really don't know who you're talking to. You know, it's been found that a lot of people who have millions upon millions of followers, they're bots. So I get that too. But many of you almost beat me on the radio in the morning. You're up with me at 5:45 Central Standard Time, 5:55. You know, Marnie and Meddy get up because they want to make sure that the sound is right. You all continue to send messages to let me know that, hey, the sound's not right. And you haven't left the show. You've stayed with the show and you've helped to grow the show. It's the fastest growing show on this station. And I want to thank you for that. And I want you to know that I respect you. And I require a particular environment here. People can say what they want to say and you all deal with them. Absolutely. But I'm not going to sit here if I catch it and watch anyone disrespected, watch anyone diminished. That's not going to happen. You can go elsewhere, but you won't be here doing that. We have enough of that poison out here. And I'm just not going to have it. Not going to have it. So, that having been said, thank you. So I want you all to continue to call me because you all calling in like right now as we speak about, you all want to weigh in on this rally. And we're going to have Dwight McKee. He's going to talk about it. I can't wait to hear his thoughts. So I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. I want to hear your thoughts about this rally. Where do you think this is going? Where is this coming from? I'm bringing Dwight McKee on, brilliant social scientist, because this is something that he predicted last year about this time. He said, no matter what the election is, it's going to be about nullification. And that's what it's been about. That's why you have the discussion about the legitimacy of the election. And on it has gone. It has gone. And I think that we should listen to people of different opinions. That's why I listen to people who believe that this is not a legitimate election. Do I agree with them? No. But do I want to listen? Yes, because I want to understand their thinking. I want to understand their worldview, what they see and how and why they see what they see. And I think that the only way you can counter an argument is to understand the other argument. You can't counter, you can't shadow box an argument. You need to know it. Okay. You're right, Daryl. You can agree to disagree, but you have to be respectful. You have to be respectful. And that's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to bend the curve here. A lot of talk radio is male, it's white, it's right-wing, and it's mean-spirited, quite frankly. Not everybody in it is mean-spirited. Not everybody is white and male, but it is mean-spirited. I will not have that. If you want that spirit, you should go elsewhere. You can find it. But if you want to have a respectful environment in which we can agree to disagree respectfully, lovingly, I believe in tolerance. That's in the Bible, and that's my book. I believe in love. So let's move forward in that spirit, even when we disagree. We drive each other crazy. But at the end of the day, we all come together. Okay? And that's my training. Yes, Coach May.
So we lost Tom. Anita's still on board. We had a new caller call in named David. He's from Orland Park, and he kind of has a similar mindset, I guess.
That's fine.
No, it's not Tom. It's just he has a similar topic where he feels like we're ignoring the violence from like Antifa and BLM.
Fine. Just give me. So I say something. You can just give me the names and the. I'll disabuse you of that because I don't want to disagree.
No, yeah, I just wanted to let you know. Like,
I appreciate it.
And then I have Dwight McKee on hold, so I'll bring him up after. I could bring him up during the good, or not the good news. I could bring him up during the news, or I could bring him up after. But yeah, he's on hold and he's ready for you.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Cool. And then we have about 45 seconds left till we get back
Okay,
on.
they're saying that my sound is going. I think it's. This is the mic is clicking.
So Jim may be in contact with you later today.
Yeah.
Again, Matt said he's going to be talking with Jim, so I imagine Jim probably might try like logging in and checking out the situation.
Yeah, because we're getting a lot of complaints about that, and it's been ongoing. But today is particularly bad.
847.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. I'll pass that along to Matt too.
Thank you.
15 seconds.
681-059. This is WCPT 820. Listen in Chicago.
Carolyn Griffey, my sister, you know I love the girl. Shalimar. Yeah, that's Shalimar. I love her. That's my sister. Girl, one day you're going to have to come on and we are going to have to talk about my time in California. Back in just a minute.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world. I am breathing.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It is Tuesday, September 14th, 2021. I'm Santita Jackson. This is the Santita Jackson Show on WCPT, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. I want you to meet my morning stars on the Santita Jackson and Friends page. And on YouTube, Santita Jackson Show. Please meet us over there. And on Instagram, Santita Jackson IG, Twitter, today. Everybody, I want you to be my friends. Please meet me over there. We've been talking about the COVID-19 booster shots and with Dr. Deborah Holden, and we just spoke with Malcolm Nance about his take on what's happening September 18th, what this rally from the so-called right is going to mean. Dwight McKee's going to come up with us in a hot second just to share with us his thoughts. Where is this coming from? Is this a movement? What will this portend for the 18th, for 2022, 2024? What does all of this mean? There's something underneath all of this, and I want us to tease it out, everybody. Call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. If you want to text me, GWC Injury Lawyers gives you the opportunity to text to this number, but I want to hear your voices today, and I'm going to get right to you. 773-763-9278, 763-927-9278. Let's get to some of these headlines before we get back to your calls. Chicago, a high of 85 degrees, partly cloudy. Minneapolis, St. Paul, a high of 72 degrees, partly cloudy. On Wall Street yesterday, the Dow closed up 261 points. The NASDAQ closed down 9 points. The S&P 500 closed up 10 points. In Major League Baseball, the White Sox will be facing off against the Angels. The Twins will be facing off against Cleveland. And the Cubs will be facing the Phillies. Everybody, COVID-19 update. President Biden wants 70% of the world to get vaccinated. It's not even close. Roughly 1/3 of the globe are fully vaccinated, according to the World Health Organization. And What do you think about that, everybody? Only, according to the World Health Organization, only 20% of people in low and lower middle income countries have received a first dose of the vaccine compared to 80% in high and upper middle income countries. What do you think about that, everybody? And in the meantime, we're seeing that the FDA officials who resigned last week, they resigned because they protested the White House's push for boosters in the United States. They said they're not appropriate. What do you think about that? Dr. Deb said, hold your horses. What do you think about that? An expert review of scientific evidence has concluded that the COVID vaccine booster shots are not needed at this time for the general public, according to this group of leading U.S. and international scientists, everybody. So what do you think about that? Indeed, the World Health Organization, well, they're saying two senior FDA officials, and they're in charge of that. They're saying, hold your horses, wait a minute. In the meantime, the global poor are facing life and death as they are not having access to the vaccines because of patent waivers. They're not able to make their own because we're not sharing the recipes, everybody. So what do you think about that, everybody? In the meantime, virus cases among children have skyrocketed almost 240% since July, and they're going back to school. What do you think about that, everybody? Ooh. Congress is returning to Capitol Hill this month with a crushing set of deadlines, a $3.5 trillion Social Security safety net bill, the $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill by September 27th. They have a lot of work before them, everybody. So let's get to this. What about this rally on January 6th? Are you paying any attention to that? Should we pay attention to that? What is going on? And the California primary tonight. Will Gavin Newsom hold on to his seat? Just a little while ago, he won his seat by 62%. And yet more than 1.5 million people voted to have this recall. Those votes are somewhere. We got to talk about that with John Nichols at the bottom of the hour. We're going to bring up Dwight McKee. Dwight McKee. And let me go to, I think we have Tom from Chicago. Tom, are you up before we go to you, Dwight?
Tom hung up, but we have Anita.
Oh, Anita, what's on your mind?
Good morning.
Hey, Anita.
I wanted to say something about Marjorie Taylor. I think that's her name. When she first
Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Yes. She said about the Muslims, which really enraged me because I am not about to plunder. They've already plundered Africa. Now they're trying to plunder the Middle Eastern countries for the oils and all of that. And this country does not deserve leadership or riches to back it up because they're just going to waste it and destroy and kill people. So Sarah Palin was a female Republican that ran, and she said she was for soccer moms. And Marjorie Taylor was talking about some suburban housewives. Well, suburban housewives have crack cocaine moms there and selling drugs in the black community to people getting out of the prisons, the black men and American Indian men. They're selling drugs to them. So they're gonna have to clean up their housewife image because housewives also include crack cocaine, Caucasian females up to age 70 selling drugs in the black communities too. So they need to get rid of that mess, and people need to just confront them on the real issues instead of them talking about they're just going to start killing people when they don't like what you say to them. Sarah Palin was not like that.
Well, you know what? I think we're going to have some respectful conversations and some honest and earnest and forthright conversations. Anita, it's always a joy hearing from you. I can't wait to see you when you come back to Chicago sometime. Sending you much, 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 much love.
God bless.
Thank you. Thank you. And Walter, I'm so glad that you're doing better. You said you were diagnosed with COVID-19, bless your heart, with the Delta variant, but you're doing much better thanks to naturopathic means. Blessings to you. Blessings to you. Blessings to you, everybody. Let's talk about this January 6th, the January 6th rioters. Of course, we heard intelligence expert Malcolm Nance, veteran and best-selling author, say, you know, you got a lot of right-wing zealots who are pushing this. But let's dig down even deeper. Let's find out what let's get some other thoughts, another take on this. Dwight McKee, brilliant social scientist. Indeed, you predicted that this was coming. And even though they're erecting a fence around the Capitol, there's something they're not going to be able to keep out, and that's the spirit of January 6th. That's the spirit of September 18th. That's the spirit of a lot of people who embrace a particular worldview. Dwight McKee, welcome back to the show. What is September 18th about in your mind? And everybody, I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. I want to hear your thoughts. Dwight McKee.
Good morning, Santita.
Good morning.
Well, I think it's about the same level of passion, but it won't be the same level of riding or Mr. Anything, because the government is so much better prepared for this. First time around, they were a little ambushed because they didn't believe that citizens could be so rambunctious and so violent. Now they've really adjusted. This is the government now, the tactics for having these kind of demonstrations. And the demonstrators know they're under heavy scrutiny and that they're on the FBI's radar. And so this will be a much more modified version of what you saw in January. Much more cautious and much more contained than we've seen before. I don't think it's going to be a major episode like it was in January of last year.
What is driving this, Dwight? Because Malcolm Nance said, you have a group of people who feel that, the left wing are full of pedophiles who want to drink the blood of children. You've got QAnon. And I wonder if that is, and while certainly some people do believe that, but I'm wondering if that's not nuanced enough.
No, it's not. Fear is one thing that's driving it. Fear of, lack of control. Fear that the others are going to take over the government, going to take over the country. Fear that white supremacy will no longer rule the day. Fear that Biden can win the election again, and actually that Trump is going to salvation for of the American way. Mostly fear and the need to control and be empowered for the sake of imposing your will on the world, which is kind of the American way. It's been that way for the last 50 to 100 years, and we think that is the standard for the planet. And so we want to really kind of, as a country, make sure that we maintain that level of control and being in charge of the rest of the world to yield them to our will.
We're talking with Dwight McKee about September 18th. What do you expect from this rally? Will it be a riot or not? And what is the energy, everybody, that is driving that these people keep on coming? And we don't really know who they are. Hundreds of people have been arrested, but they don't have a face. They've been able to go right back into the American population. They've been able to blend right back in. We're talking about the Robert Kelly trial. We know who the defendants are. We know what the arguments are. But do we understand what's going on with the people who rioted and who raided the Capitol on January 6th? No. I mean, we don't know. And Dwight, why is that?
The strategy has changed. The strategy is no longer, wholesale taking over the government, closing down the elections. The strategy now has gone to the states level, where the state legislators use their power to impose their will and neutralize everybody else's power by gerrymandering, by recount, by voter restriction. It's a new strategy that they're imposing now, and that is that to control from the bottom up and so much from the top down. They feel that if they can neutralize from the bottom up, then in the next election, they can, reattach Trump to the government, get their guys back at the in the White House, and then get back to the top down. down, but right now it's a bottom-up strategy.
Is this about President Trump or something else? Is this about getting him back in office? What is this about?
It's about control. It's about who's going to control the government, who's going to control the resources, whose will is going to be imposed on the planet. It's about using democracy or using voter suppression or using oligarchy or whatever you need to use in order to impose your will on the country and on the planet. So it's a power move, not so much as a political move, but a power move. Politics is a means to an end, but it's really about the power.
Everybody, I want to hear from you. 773-763. WCPT 773-763-9278. Where are we going from here? Because I have the sense we're going to be talking with John Nichols about this at the bottom of the hour, that this is what we're seeing in California, Dwight. I mean, we're seeing this with the rollbacks rather on voting rights, not just in Texas but all around the country. The rollback on reproductive rights all around the country. I mean, there's just a rollback and on progressive policies. And I see this connected to that. I don't see this just through the prism of restoration for President Trump. I just see it as being about something much, much bigger. Am I off here?
No, I don't think you're off. It's much bigger. It's a way of life. It's a commitment to a way of life that is sanctioned in their minds by God. It is the purpose of the planet is to be a component to a certain lifestyle, a certain philosophy, a certain religion, the American way, and it behooves us to turn the planet into little mini Americas because it serves our interests and it puts us in charge. It is what the Muslims have been resisting for the last 40 years. Is they've been resisting MTV. They've been resisting gyrating women. Those things that contradict their philosophy and their religion, they see as religious commitment. We see it as the imposition of freedom, that people should have the same rights as we have, even to be decadent. And so what you're talking about is a lifestyle and an attitude that gives us the right to define and sanction what is liberty, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, at the expense of other people's values and other people's culture and other people's religion. It is a power position. It is a lifestyle position. It is a really religious civilization argument.
Are the media handling this responsibly, or are they really giving us an accurate picture of why we're here, of what's driving September 18th? I mean, every time I hear the mainstream media talk about Marjorie Greene, while I don't agree with her, I think just to write her off as someone who is crazy, I don't think that's very smart. I really don't. And when you do that, you write off her constituents and people who support her as crazy. And you diminish them, you condescend to them. And that does not get us anywhere, Dwight.
Yeah, I'm not sure the media knows how to interpret this either, to be honest with you, because, we've been raised to believe, to have certain beliefs and certain understanding. And so the media, becomes a propaganda machine of the corporate interest. NBC was owned by General Electric.
Mm-hmm.
ABC was owned by Disney. Even they are owned by corporatists. And so their politics and their values reflect those corporations that own them, who have their own bottom lines and their own ends that they're trying to engage in. And so I'm not sure media even has a capacity to interpret this. I think we all need balance. I think, we have to look at local media and American media, but I think to get a real true understanding, you all have to engage international media because, they're telling a different story.
What story are they telling?
From another point of view.
What story are they telling in other beyond the United States?
Well, they're telling a more balanced story because they're not just perpetrating American way. They're saying, here is what people in this country believe. Here's what we believe. Here's what Al Jazeera. Here's what the Muslim world believes. This is our point of view. BBC is saying, here's what we believe in the Commonwealth. This is our point of view. African television has a whole different message. And so I think you have to engage international press, at least to get a balanced understanding. Even watching Fox gives you a much more balanced understanding of just watching a liberal station because you're getting different points of view. And somewhere in all those points of view, there's a fact somewhere, or the truth lies somewhere dormant. But you have to really do research to find out what's true.
And really get beyond the name calling and all of that, because there's something going on here. There are a lot of thoughts and philosophies driving all of this, and it's not just on the extreme right. You have a lot of people who have a lot of thoughts about a lot of things, and I've always said to you, at some point, the right and the left are going to end up meeting somewhere. Because you're living in a time, Dwight, of profound mistrust in institutions. And when you have, you rule by the consent of the governed. And when the governed no longer consent, what happens? I've got 2 minutes. They belong to you.
Well, what happens is what you see. And you see, a distortion of truth. You see confusion. You see mistrust. You see, as you see with the disease and the viruses and the vaccines, the misinformation, new information, distorted old information. You really struggle with what to believe. And when you begin to mistrust the government, it really is the first steps, either the tyranny or rebellion or dissonance. If you don't trust what the government is telling you, then what is your recourse but to resist? And so that's why you're finding all of these different battle zones across the board with different issues. Whether or not it be the war in Afghanistan, whether or not it be, vaccine, whether or not it be, who has the right to impose their will. Do you have the freedom not to take it? Or do you have the obligation to take it? Does the government have a right to fire you and require you to take it? You have all of these distorted views or different views. And people don't know who to be or what positions to take. And at that point, that's when you have all of this, resistance and hostility, and the patriots also become the rebellious, and the rebellious become the patriots. That's when you have all of this mass confusion.
We've been talking with Dwight McKee about September 18th, the rally. These people are looking for justice for January 6th, those people who were arrested. And they're looking for so much more. I hope upon hope that we will listen to each other. Don't demonize people. Talk to people. Understand people. Might disagree, but everyone deserves to be heard. Everyone deserves to be treated respectfully. Let's do that, everybody. Let's talk about the California recall. What do you think is going to happen tonight? They say that the numbers are trending in the direction of Gavin Newsom, but we won't know until they count the votes. What drove this recall. He won by 62%. How did he end up here in just a couple of years? How did that happen? How did that happen? And what's going to happen? And what does that portend? Not just for California politics, but for national politics. More of the Santita Jackson Show in just a few minutes. Okay. Wonderful. Please ask Renee and Pam to hold, okay, Cosme?
Yeah, no, they're currently holding right now. Did you want to come to them after the break?
The air.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Right now.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
You need to call.
Thank you, Dwight.
Your trusted local lender. Billy, married, 2 kids, living in an $800,000 home, called to do a cash-out refinance to pay off credit card debt he accumulated after losing his job. Team Hockrig helped Billy eliminate over 50 years of credit card debt.
Okay. Annette, my Howard's sister. Yes, my girl, she really pulls me into media, everybody. Oh, boy. Annette, we've got some stories. I love you, girlie. Okay, she's not perfect. She's an AKA. And yes, I did wear pink and green all the time. I think I was the only Delta who wore pink and green. My room was pink and green. I just loved those colors, right? I didn't start wearing red until I like red lipstick. I didn't do that in college because it was so adult. And my parents, my parents like freaked out about me in makeup my freshman year, and they never quite adjusted. And can you believe my parents met and married in college, right? I don't think they wanted me to do that. I love you, girl. Love you. Annette, my girl. Did an interview for her for NBC. I have to tell everybody. And she called me. I hadn't talked to her in 1,000 years. And she was like, girl, I'm up here, big-time producer at the network, at Peacock, at NBC, and I need your help. We're doing something on Senator Obama and Michelle Obama. We think they could become the nominee. They could become president. And we're doing a little mini doc, and I'd like for you to participate. Did some research, know that you know them, blah, blah, blah. Said, I don't talk about people I know. I've been given permission to, but I will do this interview. I will do it for you. But you have to let them know that you have to be the producer on this. If you're not on this, I'm not going to do it. Boom. So, long story short, I did it. She hadn't seen me in a long time. I looked a little different. And so she made a demo tape for me, bless her heart, without my knowledge, and started pushing it through the network, unbeknownst to me, and that pushed me into television and pushed me further into radio. So I owe Annette a tremendous debt of gratitude. My beloved sister. I love you, girl. Yes, a Delta who wore pink and green and an AKA who wore red. Hello, what's up, girl? Deltas and AKAs did that at Howard all the time. It was like AKAs went with Qs and Deltas went with Alphas. What? You know that. Oh, girl, look, grateful. Look, I you over and over again. Oh, because it was you. Because you're my girl, and I love you. How about that? So, do we have John Nichols on?
Yeah, he's on the line.
Okay, let me say hello to John.
He's up.
Over Cleveland's birthday.
Hey, John, how are you?
White Chocolate Day. The sale literally never ends. You can come
John?
Ascension, National Pisces Day, but not Leap Day.
John.
He's here. I think he may just be a little busy. I just heard him, but I think he might be like away from his phone.
Okay, just want to make sure. Love you, Annette. Annette, I need to talk with you just after the show. Is that okay?
Investing like a game. But Marcus by Goldman Sachs.
Let me know. Let me know. I want to talk with you. I need to speak with you just after I get off the air. Now that I think about it. Love you, girl. Okay?
Visit Marcus.com to learn more about saving,
So, okay, everybody.
Investing involves risk and investments may lose value. Brokerage and investment advisory services by Goldman
Hey,
Sachs.
Paula.
LLC. Member FINRA SIPC. Lending and deposits products provided by Goldman Sachs Bank USA. Member FDIC.
Delta wore pink and green. Wow.
Where facts matter.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
More and hate to a place of love. It's not too late. Gotta save the children. We can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. I am Santita Jackson, coming to you from the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, AM 950 Radio in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and WCPT in Chicago, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. I want to know what your thoughts are. We've been talking about the September 18th rally. What do you make of that? And this rally from the right, so to speak, this justice for January 6th. But also we're looking at, I think, some this California. Gavin Newsom, the sitting governor, the Democrat, who won his seat by almost 62% of the vote, it has looked kind of shaky over the past few weeks. A right-wing radio talk show host, Larry Elder, a renowned conservative, who's also African-American, many people thought, even think now, that he's got a shot. He's got a shot at winning the governorship. What do you think about that? What are the issues that drove to this, and what is going on? Now, the Democrats have sent the big guns out there. The Vice President Harris, the first African-American to hold a statewide office, she's been out there. You've got the president who's been out there. Not only is he arguing for climate change as the wildfires are consuming vast swaths of California, but he's also looking at, a big loss if we lose that governorship as Democrats. But you also had Elizabeth Warren out there, and of course you had Auntie Maxine, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, who is tremendously popular all over the state. Everybody is pulling for Gavin Newsom to make it tonight, at least those on the left, at least those who do not want extreme right-wing politics sitting in Sacramento in the governor's seat. So I want to talk with you about it today. 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. Before I bring on John Nichols from The Nation, brilliant author and broadcaster, podcaster, let me go to you, Renee. Renee, what's on your mind today? You have been chomping at the bit to say something. So, Renee, what's going on?
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call. I just want to respond to Mr. Nash about R. Kelly and about the Kooks who he said followed Donald Trump and stuff. First of all, the authorities, if they want to, they can indict a ham sandwich. So we haven't heard R. Kelly's side yet, and they have basically stripped him of his ability to have a good legal defense because they withheld his earnings, and then they locked him up so that he couldn't perform and make money to have a good lawyer. So I don't know quite what's going on with that. I do feel like they were letting R. Kelly, just reign. He was on Saturday Night Live, gyrating on the floor and all that stuff. But then he spoke out and said his daughter was not a transgender boy, that she was not born in the wrong body. And I think some of that ties in with the troubles that have befallen him. And his daughter, by the way, has since said that she's not transgender. She just feels like she's a lesbian. So I'm glad she didn't have any surgery to alter her body parts. But concerning the Kooks, not everybody believes every agenda that the Democrats push is a good agenda. They don't. I myself think some of the things they push, some of those things are immoral. Pushing a curriculum where you teach kindergartners to masturbate and where you're teaching middle schoolers about different ways to have sex, not just about anatomy, but to have sex. Everybody's not a kook. Everybody just doesn't believe in everything that they seem to push. Biden pushed transgender bathrooms, but not the Civil Rights Act, not the John Lewis Act, not the For the People Act. Something is wrong with that. He pushed mandates to get vaccinated when we really don't know all the side effects yet, and I'm not good with that, but I don't support Trump.
So you're saying
it's rather peculiar that they're not telling us whether or not my doctor might be one of those people who is at the Capitol. I want to know who the racist people are.
Well, because it was about more than racism. I mean, that was part of it, but that was not the whole thing. There's a lot going on here. But you're saying, I think, just to button it up, that the approach to people in their politics is not nuanced enough. Because I think that one of the pieces that Democrats in particular and liberals and progressives, white progressives, miss about black people is that black people are socially very conservative. And that's why you're seeing more and more blacks moving over to the Republican column. I mean, it's just a fact. President Trump got more black votes in 2020. No, but I'm not saying you, but I'm saying he got more black votes in 2020 than he got in 2016. And I think that name calling does not help. You need to figure out why. You need to ask people why they think and believe as they do, and then you move on from there. Give people basic respect. I love you, Renee, and I'm so glad you called in because you articulate this so well. I mean, even better than you do. You write brilliantly, but we need to hear your voice. I love you, Renee. Stay right there, though. I want to hear from you, Pam. Pam, what's on your mind?
Good morning, Santita. And let me just say my love, thoughts, and prayers for your parents, their recovery. And please send our love.
Thank you.
I'm going to say name calling, you're more than welcoming. You know that's all that your family has gone through and done for us. And that does not, I don't take it for granted. Regarding September 18th, Santita, I just believe, and it's no news, that we just have a group of people that want complete dominance over this country and possibly the world. And I don't know if that seems far-fetched. And I think they've found a party within the Republican Party. Now, I agree with you that name-calling doesn't work or move people to a certain position, but it seems to be very effective in the Republican Party. And
well, I mean, it's effective on the left, too. The devil's effective, but the devil's not right, and the devil doesn't win, ultimately. Watching people is just, Pam, come on. It just doesn't help.
You know, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, Santita. I'm in total agreement with that. But I'm just saying it seems to have a place on the right from what I see.
And women, and on the left, too. I mean, I've seen it, and I just think it's ridiculous, all of it.
Yeah, but you're rejecting it. I don't hear a lot of conservative talk shows reject it.
Do you know how much heat I've gotten from some executives because they think that I'm too nice?
Yeah, I can understand.
I don't really care. Like, you know, if the audience doesn't want me, then I'll be gone. But I'm just saying,
No, I can understand.
you know, I want you to complete the thought, but I have to put that there too.
And you have to be who you are. But I'm going back to Santita. I just remember what Reverend Dr. King said in one of his speeches, and I'm just loosely paraphrasing. But he said the logical and the ultimate logical reasoning behind racism, he said, is genocide. And Santita, I can't help think that if you don't feel like you're fit to have certain freedoms or exist, what is it that those people that are protesting on the 18th, what do they want? They don't want to abide by the rules of the law, but everybody else has. So I'm real concerned. And the other concern is that the media, that we're not getting the truth put out in what we call mainstream media, our broadcast networks. But and lastly, I'm going to say this about Fox. For me, Fox is to this country what that same media outlet and communication outlet was to the Tutsis and the Hutus. You know what that broadcast and what those radio broadcast messages, the conflict it created. I feel like Fox is that, and it's not hyperbole, Santita. This is simply how I feel. I feel like if somebody called for an attack on the black community, we would see an attack on the black community, and we would see some of law enforcement participate in that. And on the 18th, as I read some reporting, there could be some protests at the state capitol, which could result in violence. Are we even prepared? And thank you for letting me have my say and getting my concerns out.
Well, it's important. That's why I said, let me go to Pam from the West Side. John Nichols, that is not Gavin Newsom in California and Larry Elder and these 40-odd other people who are running. But I think that what you heard from Renee, what you heard from Pam, this discontent, this dissatisfaction. I mean, we don't hear reporting on the news anymore. We hear opining. Everybody's got an opinion. I'm tired of all of them, quite frankly, because I just want to hear some reporting. I don't care about your opinion. Because if I want your opinion, I need to know who you are. I need to know what shaped you. There's a lot of discontent out here, John Nichols. And I think we're seeing that borne out in California. I mean, this is what our most populous state. We have a governor who won by 61.9%, and yet he could lose his seat tonight. We hope not. But how did we get here?
Well, I think you're exactly right to make the connections between all the things that have happened. We've entered into a zone where it's sort of a winner-take-all approach to everything having to do with politics. And obviously, what you saw on January 6th was people storming the Capitol of the United States to try and stop the count in the presidential election that had already been clearly decided for one candidate. And this was the idea. Obviously, this is an action underpinned by the idea that win at any cost, whatever gets you across the line, that's fine, because the other side is so horrible, the other side is so bad, or frankly, your side is so good. This kind of thinking. And there's very little question that a lot of that underpins the California recall. Governor Newsom in California has not been a perfect governor. If you can show me a perfect governor, I'd be very honored to meet her. But the fact is that every governor has challenges. This period has been especially challenging because of COVID and because of a host of other issues, many of them climate-related in California. So right-wingers in California launched a recall against it. The only reason this recall is taking place, Santita, is because it's super easy in California to do a recall. I mean, they have a very, very low threshold, much lower than other states. And so as a result, it's very easy to put that on the ballot and to force them. And for a time, it looked as if they might be able to game the system in a way that defeated Newsom, because not only is it easy to force a recall in California, the California recall law is a mess. It forces not one election, but two elections. And if the person being recalled is rejected in the first election, they can't run in the second election. So the end result is that you had a scenario where it was very possible in a low turnout election that Gavin Newsom would get, a substantial number of support, or amount of support, maybe 47, 48%, but he wouldn't make the threshold in the first, and so then in the second election he wouldn't be on the ballot, and somebody like Larry Elder might get elected with 20% of the vote. The madness of it all the kind of bad numbers that go floating in there, tell you exactly where you end up, a place that democracy itself is sort of crushed by bad process. So that's the scenario that you've got out there. Now, the interesting thing is, I think in the last week or so, a couple of weeks, as Larry Elder has emerged as the leading Republican prospect, Newsom's numbers have gone up. And it looks like, I'd say that it looks likely, not certain, that Newsom will survive this because of the clarity of the moment. Once you have an opponent, it gets easier. But I wouldn't underestimate at all that we have entered into a circumstance where you're going to see more recalls and more, kind of efforts to game the system, to game the process, so that one side of the political fight can prevail, even though it doesn't have majority support. And that's the bottom line thing to recognize, Santita, perhaps the most serious reality of this moment. Joe Biden had majority support. He won by more than 7 million votes. The popular vote, he won easily in the Electoral College. There was no question he should be president. And yet on January 6th, people tried to prevent that from happening. Once again, in California, for all of its flaws, there's very little doubt that Gavin Newsom has the highest level of support, more than any other prospective candidate. And yet you had the prospect that he could be forced out of office. So this is something we have to think about a lot. We have to recognize that we now have political groupings in this country on the far right and even within the Republican Party who are perfectly comfortable ruling with only a minority of support, with only a small portion of the people on their side. And that's a very, very dangerous calculus for any country.
We're talking with John Nichols of The Nation magazine about this California recall. What do you think is going to happen tonight, everybody? Call us at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. You can text us at that number as well. GWC Injury Lawyers gives you that opportunity. I want to hear your voices. I want to hear your thoughts. What are the national implications? This, John, to me, is not just about California. It's not just about Gavin Newsom. It almost seems like it's a referendum on the Democrats, on $3.5 trillion, $1 trillion, Joe Manchin, and on and on and on. Is it about a little bit more than California? And how could this play out across the country?
It's about a lot more than California.
Okay.
In fact, I would go so far as to say that it's while it's focused in California, its consequences, if Governor Newsom is defeated tonight, if he's removed from office, are monumental. What week it is, the 6th or 7th largest economy in the world. It's a much more powerful economic force and frankly social force than other states and frankly a lot of other countries. And so if California were to suddenly be governed by a right-wing ally of Donald Trump, in a state, by the way, that voted, I think it was about 65% of the vote for Joe Biden, so suddenly you'd have a Trump backer in charge of California. That's a huge deal. California, because of its size and because of its economic force, really sets the agenda on all sorts of issues, to its regulations, to its policies. And frankly, it is often a place that is a trendsetter for the country. So there's all that. But then I'll give you one other thing. As you well know, Santita, the U.S. Senate is split 50-50 right now. Kamala Harris' tie-breaking vote puts Democrats in charge. The senior senator from California, Dianne Feinstein, is 88 years old. She is, in a position where she might well retire at some point or have to leave office at some point. And if that happens, the governor of California can appoint the replacement. If Larry Elder were to become the governor of California, he has said he would appoint a Republican to replace Dianne Feinstein. That alone would shift control of the Senate to the Senate, a Republican majority. And so you see what's at stake here is massive. It goes to the budget that you were just talking about, the $3.5 trillion budget. It goes to Supreme Court picks and everything else, simply because of that one appointment possibility. And so, the California thing is huge. That's why President Biden was there yesterday campaigning with Gavin Newsom. It's why Kamala Harris has gone to California to campaign with and for Gavin Newsom. And frankly, it's why unions and civil rights groups and activist groups have poured immense energy into fighting this recall, because they know, and I think they're right, that if a small minority, a tiny fraction of the electorate was able to remove a Democratic governor and insert a Republican governor with very, very low level of support, that signal for the whole country, I think, would be devastating.
Devastating how? I mean, what would that look like?
I think that it would create a situation where, in our media especially, you would have people saying, well, that's it, Joe Biden's presidency has failed. The states that voted 65, 67% in his favor in 2020 has suddenly rejected a Democrat who's frankly quite similar to Biden on an awful lot of issues. There would be it would be an earthquake. It would be a political earthquake, and it's all that we would talk about, for a very substantial amount of time. it would be very, very deeply distracting from the issues at hand in Washington. And there is so much that has to be done in Washington. I think to kind of lose whatever energy there is on behalf of the Biden presidency and Democratic control of the Senate, et cetera, I think that would be really undermined.
Well, you know,
that's the consequence.
well, you know, it is the consequence, but that's where I'm wondering about preparedness. You know, my father often says, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And California, while it has a reputation for being liberal, you know this better than anyone, John Nichols. It gave us Reagan. California rolls like that. It rolls left, it rolls right. It has LA County, it has Orange County. It has Clint Eastwood. It has Gavin Newsom. It has Willie Brown. It has Maxine Waters. It has. And I'm wondering, like, how deep is our bench? Dianne Feinstein, almost 90 years of age, is she preparing anyone to run?
Well, this has been the great challenge. She has chosen to hang on to that.
I mean, she's doing what Ruth Bader Ginsburg, you know, President Obama tried to get Ruth Bader Ginsburg out. He wasn't trying to kick her out. He said, look, you know what, while I'm here, I still need to. And she wouldn't even meet with him at the White House.
Yeah, I think that's you're getting to the heart of it.
We have a caller on the line.
California, you have had a huge shift in the state as it's grown so much. It's become a much more diverse state. It was always a diverse state. That's an important thing to understand.
Yeah.
It was always a multiracial and multi-ethnic state, but it has become more so. And
I hate to interrupt you, but you know what? We have Howard from L.A. Let's hear from someone from L.A. real quick in these last couple of minutes that we have here. Howard, I got a couple minutes. What's on your mind?
Okay, well, I was just going to say that. I didn't think you would call, first of all, but California is really, you can't have a way of setting a trend. If this guy gets in, they're going to set a trend for the whole country where the Republicans grab a lot of power. People don't understand California, like through California, you got the rural part, you got the metropolitan areas. And you get out there in Fresno, for instance, that makes you, it can be like being almost like a southern state. But the cities are more liberal. And Orange County is gradually turning blue. So we have a Congressman Porter out there. He's very liberal-like and things. And this is very important. Very important because, like you said, he's going to set a trend. And Larry Elder doesn't have any qualifications to lead nobody. I would probably let jump around the corner. You know, so he's not politically qualified. They call him a white supremacy and blackface, which he is. You should heard a couple of things in his podcast before.
Well, Howard, what do you expect tonight? What are you hearing from people? Are people excited about getting out to vote on both sides or either side?
It's funny. I guess the right wing is probably more excited about the vote. They're a common minority. But as time was going on, people really kind of focused in and look at COVID and all those other crises, and the people realized that maybe nobody's going to take us back, you know, because they're trying to use like when Gavin Newsom shut it down for a while, and then he opened it back up, and you see all the stats on the COVID start, you know, coming back a bit, so he shut it down again. And they're trying to use little petty.
2 minutes.
Well, maybe his kids go to private school. If I had to go, I'd send my kids to private school too. So what's the you went to a restaurant with a mask on or something, they made an issue out of it. So I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. He's only human, you know. But the other things he's done is trying to keep us on the right track. At least I give him credit for that. He's not perfect, you know.
Well, is anyone perfect? Stay right there, Howard. Let me give John Nichols the last, 30 seconds. They belong to you. I'm sitting back.
And we're talking about the right issue today. This California recall is a big deal. And it's not the natural progression of politics that's forced on us. But just as so many things that have happened in the last couple of years, this is a real test of where we're at. If Gavin Newsom wins, and frankly, if he wins by a comfortable margin, it is a significant signal. But it won't be the end of things. The fact of the matter is we've entered into a period of incredibly volatile politics. And it is a time when we all have to be very alert, and we have to look for threats and challenges and dangers coming from all over the country. Don't just look at Washington. Recognize the things that happen out in the states can often influence where we're headed as a country just as much as anything in Washington. And today, it's California. That's where the action is.
That's where the action is, everybody. If you know anyone in California, please call them and be your own one-person party. Make sure that they get out and vote today. I think Howard's made a great point, and that's been a point that a lot of people have been trying to make. You have a very energized Republican Party. Democrats are getting more energized, but they need to really take it over the top in order to hold on to this seat. So, we'll see tomorrow, because you know what? Perhaps you can come back and give us a couple minutes, John, so we can talk about tonight. Because I think that this is big. Either way it goes, it's a big, 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 big deal. And it's a harbinger of things to come. John Nichols, everybody, from The Nation magazine. I'm Santita Jackson. It's been a joy being with you today. God bless all of you. I love you. I love you. I love you. See you tomorrow on the Santita Jackson Show. Thank you, Coach May, for a great show. God bless everybody. John, thank you so much.
19 here. Did you ever wonder why, in a world as advanced as ours, we're common men?
I can't really hear you, but I know you're there. Can you turn down the radio? I'm gonna come off in a hot second. Well, I'm gonna let. Okay, thank you so much, Coach May. John, did you want to say a quick little something before we go?
Well, I just want to thank you for having me on. It was great, and it's great to talk about this. But California, what's going on in California is a big deal. And it does speak to, if we can do one last quick thing, connected to the $3.5 trillion budget plan. The big budget plan, going big, is something that really delivers for people. It excites people. And that's something Democrats have to be far more conscious of. They have to be doing things that deliver. They have to be doing things that excite voters. Because if you don't, you end up in a situation like what we're seeing in California, where your caller was exactly right. A small portion of people on the far right are very excited because they despise Joe Biden. They want to trip up the Democrats wherever they can. And so they're going to come and vote no matter what. Democrats have got to be conscious that they have to turn the volume up on their side, not by hating on people or being cruel to people, but by delivering. And so any proposal, any attempt by Joe Manchin or somebody to cut the $3.5 trillion plan is a very dangerous and very destructive approach, because that dials down the volume on Democratic energy. It makes people less excited to participate. It makes them sense, perhaps, that winning elections doesn't really matter that much, or having power doesn't really make that much difference. And so we can connect all these things up, and when we do, I think the bottom line, the place we get to, is that Democrats have to be far more conscious that when they get power, when they get positions that give them authority, they need to use them to make the lives of the people that elected them much better. Not a little bit better, not marginally better, but much better. And that's kind of the heart and soul of politics.
Well, that means they're going to have to let go of corporatism, okay, and embrace populism. That's been their problem. They have the numbers, but they do not have the politics. Shame on them. They're going to have to stop. They cannot continue to embrace these right-wing politics. They win on populist rhetoric, and then they lose on corporatist actions. That's not going to work. Joe Manchin must play ball with us. He must dance with the ones who brung him. Oh, go be a Republican and try and get elected statewide. Have at it. I love you. I've got to run into a Zoom meeting. Hello. Which is crazy. But reach out to you, if you can, if you have any time. I'd like for you to just come in and give us a quick hit on tomorrow, if you don't have any other obligations.
No, I'm always open. Just let me know. And
okay.
It may be a little slow getting the results, but we'll see. If we've got some results, I'd be delighted.
Oh, wow. That's true. Well, we'll know something tomorrow. We'll know something.
Yeah, we will.
We'll know something. Yeah. Blessings. Love you, John. Give my love to the family.
Love you. Right back. Take care of your parents.
Thank you.
Zoom well.
Oh, my gosh. Yes, thank you. I've got a lot of Zooms today. I love you, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow on the Santita Jackson Show.